So you've probably come here looking for my episode 2 recap breakdown and rankings for Boys Planet, but unfortunately MNET decided to put a copyright strike against my channel. Even though I'm completely in fair use, I followed all the rules, I kept my clips under 10 seconds with no audio, and it's completely my voice for like an hour. And so MNET just doesn't like my commentary. They think that I'm attacking them in some way, or that I'm going against what they are doing, which is pretty much suppressing and manipulating the competition. And so my way around this is that I can't fight this because it's just gonna end up costing me another channel. And I used to have another channel with way more subs and active viewers, but now I don't. So I'm gonna have to let this one kind of like go through because I might get another strike extremely very soon. But for this video, I'm linking below so you can find where I could put this video on a website that doesn't work against the little guy. And so you're gonna find the full version of this video in the description or comment section below. Just look there, and obviously in the message description of every single video, I have links to other channels where I have stuff up, and it's completely safe there. And so that could be where you can get my videos in the future. So hopefully you're interested in that. It's not a big deal to go off-site, I don't think, but I know that some people won't want to. But I'm just letting you know it's available there if you came looking for it. And unfortunately, this is a re-up, so all the views are gone, all the comments are gone. Consider using off-site websites. Consider using Rumble, consider using BitChute, because those websites, they're not working for the big guys. They're not using policies that make it like impossible for someone like me to put up fair use content, transformative, educational. It's my commentary, my predictions, my rankings, and then I need the information shown in the video in order to make that stuff. It's part of the necessary process, but I can't fight that legally. It would be like a huge drain on me, and I don't have the time for that. So this is going to be a disclaimer that I put up for this episode, and I'm going to do it for every other episode as well, because I'm just not going to be able to continue doing that. It took me 12 hours to edit this video over and over to fit their requests, and then when there was nothing that they can take down my video for, they decided to finally just issue a copyright strike, and that requires me to go through a legal process where they can actually sue me, and so I'm not going to do that. That's just a waste of my time for a show, which is like, I don't know, whatever. And so I guess that's it. Here we are back again after watching the second episode of Boys Planet, subtitled Here I Am. This week concluded the second half of the first stage of star level tests that started in the last week, but in addition, it's also packed with additional content from the signal song tests, and also behind the scenes like struggle content, which is my favorite kind of content. It all adds up to a hefty 2-hour show that is equal parts entertaining and also a little bit concerning, but I'll get into all of that soon, so let's not waste any time and start the recap. In the first part of the episode, they leapt into the present time to witness the boys catching the first episode of Boys Planet in a mini theater, and there was a surprise appearance by a very familiar yet so far unannounced Star Master, and it was Sunmi, formerly of the Wonder Girls and also Planet Master from Girls Planet 999. Now, I don't know if she's going to be an ongoing part of this show. I would like that, but so far it seemed like, she walked out in those deadly stockings, wading through the young adult and, teenage boy hormones simply to grace us with her presence. Sunmi is more like sit on me, am I right? And wouldn't you know, she basically had a cameo where she barely said anything. Now, clearly they didn't want to pay her to judge the performances, but we did get to see her cackle at what is still one of the funniest moments of the season so far, which is the Silkshire twins performing 2 PM's My House. If you looked carefully, you could visually witness Do Ha and Mingyu cringe at Mach 5 speeds as they entered their fetal position over what could just as easily forever stay as the peak to their claim to fame, or shame even. Probably shame. Overall, this whole section was pretty jovial, as several boys got to see themselves on TV, and they laughed at themselves doing poorly as well. Sunmi had some over-the-top reactions, and I kind of wonder, honestly, if that was kind of a little bit of evil editing. The section was topped off by trainees getting to see their real-time vote rankings at the end of last week's episode. Some were happy, some were sad, but a part of me really wanted to see the current top 9 either sit in those, top 9 chairs, or at least get some kind of advantage going into the next challenge. Jumping back into the past, the star level test continued with trainees from the entertainment company Red Start. And it just so happens to have one of my favorite trainees, Kam Jun Hyun, who, while he's not my absolute favorite, he's actually the first I absolutely wanted to see in the top 9. He came out with Kim Min Seung, who was also one of my highest rated from the time attacks, and also Choi Woon Jin and Hong Kyun Hee. My average pre-ranking for this group is a 3 out of 4, or 7.5 out of 10, but most of that loss is actually from Hong Kyun Hee, who I pre-ranked at a 1, while Kim Min Seung and Kam Jun Hyun were all-stars, and Choi Woon Jin was a 3. They came out to perform Jessie's Nunu Nana, and I felt that Jun Hyun had a lot of energy, and it seemed to rub well off on the others, but I think it was Kim Min Seung who did the crazy flip. For the group, the vocals really weren't a highlight, but I gave the performance an 8.9 since they didn't overreach and they put on a good show regardless. The judges, however, gave Choi Woon Jin a 3 and Hong Kyun Hee a 3 as well. Kim Min Seung and Kam Jun Hyun both got all-stars, and Jun Hyun went Super Saiyan over it. Now overall, this meant that the group was rated by the judges at 3.5 out of 4 or 8.75 out of 10, which is pretty close to my performance rating of 8.9. Switching back to the regional groups, the next performing group was from Osaka. It had one of my top 9 in it, Hiroto. Also with him was Keita, Kei, and Yuto. And I had this group pre-ranked at a 2.25 out of 4, with Yuto ranking the lowest, though he received an upgrade through the course of the show. And Kei, however, was also downgraded from a 3. One of the odd members for me here is probably Keita. By Western standards, he gives me a 16 candles ducky kind of vibe. But we saw him freestyle in the episode 0 preview, and in this episode, we're seeing that he has good learning skills as well. He already had a debut, and he trained longer than many other trainees. Basically, his experience is his greatest asset. And the main question is whether his experience can overcome this kind of inverted X factor he has, or whether he could use it to the benefit of his team members. So this team performed 0 for conduct, and honestly, I wanted to rate this, but I couldn't. The camera kept showing only Keita in really close-up and cropped shots, so you couldn't get enough info to go on other than that MNET really liked Keita. But even there, it was kind of like jarring, so you really even couldn't even judge Keita. And personally, I only judge performances based on the main episode content. I don't seek out the side content like full stage performances. I'm stimulating a live viewer of the show, and so just people at home watching it on like TV, for example. But the judges made Keita an all-star and then ranked everyone else at a 2, and this basically put the group at a 2.5 or a 6.25 out of 10. The next team up was Team Shanghai with Ma Xingjiang, who looks like Japan's once-in-a-millennium idol, Hashimoto Kana, and then there's 3 other members, Zhang Shuibo, Kai Jinshin, and Tao Yuan. Considering Tao Yuan seems to have been discharged from the show, the average pre-rank for this group, excluding him, is roughly 1.7 out of 4. They performed Reveal, and honestly the vocal wasn't good. Enough to distract from actual choreo, even. The basic highlight of the group was Jin Shang, who had the face of the girl whose face comes once in 1,000 years, and also a submissive dog collar for some reason. After this, they started using the big screen to do a Jumbotron-style stadium game, which is akin to kind of like a kiss cam, but in this case, it was the sexy cam. Everyone who appeared felt compelled to do a sexy pose for the camera.
Very sexy, yes!
Until it landed upon Kim Ji Woong, who through sheer power of existing managed to pull off a sexy pose without posing at all. Like, what are we watching? The X-Files? Who are you? Fox Smulders? I want to believe I'm a straight man. Ji Woong's teammate Yoon Jong-woo played into MNET's constant temptation to do outrageous edits and trolled them by pretending he was absolutely infatuated with Ji Woong in the side commentary. He even flipped the Jumbotron game to the aforementioned Kiss Cam game.
Too sexy, please don't do it! No, my friend, too sexy! You are sexy, my friend!
But faked it out before things got too serious. Yes, in the end, it was just a joke for Yoon Jong-woo, but Ji Woong has definitely kissed men in dramas before, and the amount of trainees turning mad sussy for the Jiwassi was impressive.
No, please!
Of course, the next group included Kim Ji Woong, who was actually my top pick from the Time Attack intros. Also with him was Yoon Jong-woo, Lee Seung-hwan, and Jung Ai-chan, and Jung Hwan-ro. My pre-rankings for this team was 2.8. While the judges were probing Ji Woong about his effortless, erotic disposition, they sussed out with very little effort, because he just plainly came out and said it, that Ji Woong was an actor in boy love dramas. Of course, in a boy love drama, that doesn't necessarily indicate that the actors themselves are gay. I mean, a paycheck is a paycheck.
That means you're gay.
No, it doesn't, Ice-T. $20 is $20. They also found out he had a debut before, so there could have been some pressure here to deliver. They performed melodic, and I thought the vocal could have used some effort to be more listenable. But when Jong-woo started singing deeply, it really improved my feelings about it. Vocal Master One Star also seemed to think so. Also, Ji Woong can kind of sing, but he's stronger at rap from what I could tell. I gave the performance a 7.0. The judges gave Ji Woong and Jong-woo 3 stars, the rest got 2 stars, and this roughly rates the group at 6.0 out of 10, or 2.4 out of 4. The next performer was Young Takuto. I have him pre-ranked at a 1 out of 4, a B rank. He performed Rains instead of saying goodbye, and it was a comical take on the performance, meaning he was there to emphasize the cute type of quirkiness, or maybe it's just the way he just naturally delivers the moves. And for his trouble, he got 0 stars. They rated him lower than even I did. Even the Silk Brothers started to wonder about their place in the world after being put in the same grade as him, and the judges would later confirm that the Silk Brothers were probably below a 0, which is kind of like harsh. The next group was 143 Entertainment trainees with Lee Da-il, who may have one of the best smiles in the game, and Lim Jung-seo, who I have ranked as a tentative 2-star, basically meaning he was either going to go up or down, but I can't really remember at this point. They are pre-ranked by me as a 2.5 out of 4. The performance itself was really too short for me to judge this time around, though the singing was not strong. The judges gave them both 2 stars, placing them at a 2 out of 4, or 5 out of 10. After their performance, there were some summarized star ranks. Notably, there was Wumuti, who got a 2-star, but I have him pre-ranked as a 3, and I didn't really think much about his Time Attack video, but he actually made me laugh during the Instagram live stream relay that they held an hour before the first episode last week.
안녕하세요. 오늘은 아이스티? No. 버블티? No. 아무래도 티겠죠. 많이 투표해주세요.
And during this montage, they basically continued to prop up regional group battles between K and G in trying to see which group could capture the most stars. The next group was Wake 1's K group. Last week, Wake 1 G group did a very good job according to the Star Master panel, and Wake 1 K consists of Kim Tae-rae, Mun Jung-hyun, Park Min-suk, Park Han-bin, and Lee Jong-hyun. They're pre-ranked at a 2.2 out of 4. The performance of an AT song they did was okay, and I felt like they maybe overreached vocally, but they still did a lot of interesting things. Although I think the camera effects they added were unnecessary, and I gave them an 8.2. The judges ranked Park Min-suk at a 2, Park Han-bin at a 4, and everyone else at a 3, and this is roughly a 3 out of 4 ranking, or a 7.5. And it's interesting because I actually thought Wake 1G was overrated by the judges, but here it is in reverse. And maybe, I don't know, MNET needs to talk to their video editors about, how to edit a show with integrity. And so, you need to show edits of performances that capture the essence of the performance, not emphasize shakes whenever you feel like it, or like just show certain highlighted members, because people at home are watching and, basically it's not fair to the contestants. Of course, now we end up at Lee Ho-tech, who, is it just me, or do I always hear Discotheque by U2 every time I see this guy? They gave his side story about an uncertainty for his group, Pentagon, and their future. And, I don't know what to believe at the end of the day, but, some were speculating that him appearing on the show will revive interest in Pentagon, so there's a benefit there. Or if he goes on this show, it gives him an exit from that group if he makes the top 9, in case things aren't going well. But so far, I'm not entirely sure the show is cementing his legacy. Rather, I feel like it's harming his image a bit. And I have Lee Ho-tech pre-ranked at a 3 out of 4 based on Time Attack performance, and he became a tentative 3 which I think is possibly becoming a 4 based on evolution shown in the 0 episode. I wasn't blown away by his performance here. Honestly, it kind of felt indulgent, and while his vocal strength is kind of evident, I don't know that he didn't sacrifice the message or the artistry for the kind of technical display of singing. And, I feel like it's more of an issue here since he chose to emphasize it over the dancing. So I gave him an 8.5 for technical reasons. But the dancing, honestly, it was janky, and overall it was kind of safe. And even though the judges all starred him, I feel like they kind of doubted whether they should. And for me, like I don't think that should have been an all-star because they doubted it. And an all-star basically means a perfect 10 or a 4 out of 4. I respected that he gave himself 3 stars to start with. And I respect the same thing in Sung Han Bin because I believe that honesty is really the key to self-perception and improvement. Now, after this, we found out that the winner of the star level test was K Group. K Group achieved about 30% of total possible stars for their group. G Group got about 20% of total possible stars for their group. And basically, if every boy here in Boys Planet was in a single group, the average ranking of the whole group would be a 1 out of 4. Now, that said, among the all-stars, K Group doubled G Group. K Group got the advantage of seeing the signal song first and being able to do the choreography 1 day early in the next challenge. So with that, the section of star level test was done and the show moved to Planet Camp where the boys do their actual training. The Planet Camp seemed to be in the same location used in Girls Planet, except kind of more wintry. Gathering in a room, each boy received a jersey or a uniform commensurate with their star level. The All-Stars jersey was noticeably more shiny, by the way. But while some may take this as a moment to yearn for a better rank or brag about their uniform, it was really short-lived because the Star Masters almost immediately told them that the 0 stars have a chance to climb the celestial ladder, while the All-Stars shouldn't feel safe at all, as they were all about to be reassessed for their star level in the signal song test. In addition to trying to get a better rank, they were also competing for airtime, as the star level would determine your visibility on this giant layer cake that was the signal song stage. K Group were the first to see the signal song and have a chance to choreography before everyone retired to Planet Camp for the evening. The Planet Camp dormitories were split into 2 bunk beds with seemingly arbitrary pairs, and I really couldn't figure out why they were split into the groups that they were for the dorms. Some Japanese boys were paired with the Shanghai boys, all-stars with lesser stars. And all I know is that they did have some kind of strange hazing rituals, like, checking each other's Myers-Briggs, or giving each other nicknames, or being completely silent with each other, or maybe in the case of Bak Do Ha, trying to resist his sussy thoughts about Kim Ji Woong.
No, my friend, too sexy!
And once again, giving Sick Matthew showtime, my time attack comments were validated again by clips showing Matthew being a cool roommate. He easily transforms between respectful junior with Hanbin to respectable senior for Takuto, and Takuto, being his oddball self, decided to randomly just lie down next to Matthew, head to head, like it was a teen novel or movie poster. Guys, you don't have to sleep on the floor. You had double bunks. So they all went to bed, and Ji Woong decided to talk to the camera wearing a face mask like some kind of ghost in the night, or, something out of Silence of the Lambs. The next day, the signal song test preparation officially began. This is the most fun part of the show, in my opinion, because we get to see the boys learn new choreo for the first time, sing lines without any prep, and we also see their attitude in the process. It's not easy. Some take it well, but others they lose heart. And what is really beautiful, I think, is when one trainee asks for help or another steps in to assist a struggling trainee. Asking for help shows humility and acceptance of your current place in life. Seeing others need help and then offering assistance is also a double win, in my opinion, since it shows a sense of perception of things happening around you, and also a sense of responsibility. And so you have kind of a work ethic to kind of help your teammates. For day 1 group training, going through each star level, we got to see these groups try their hand at one section of the choreo with some noteworthy highlights. So Gun Wook was said to be shaking too much. Matthew, he was apparently good. Lee Ho Tek and Han Yu Jin struggled with their timing. It basically made me wonder how hard these guys typically had to struggle in the past to learn to be in the pocket of all the songs they performed up to this point. And it was really surprising with Lee Ho Tek. But with Han Yu Jin, I wouldn't have expected he'd have trouble with how he rushed the signal song like that. And I legitimately wonder what it is about being a pop music idol that some of these guys really enjoy if they don't feel and breathe what is the pocket. In day 2 of training, Groups were separated by star level to train in smaller groups for both vocal and dance. Seeing the 0 stars line up made me feel both a little bit sad and hopeful. MNET, in their infinite wisdom, decided to pair them with 1 star, who is basically the king of the lip-biting expression, the pained teacher expression. If you look carefully, he actually prepares the bite before he fully does it, meaning he tracks the trajectory of the note before it becomes truly awful so he can get the bite in on time. He also gives the boys some kind of breathing lessons, though I'm curious about how quickly they can adapt to those. Mingyu, the red silk shirt, I feel like he fights so hard, and it's difficult not to like his general effort. Also, among the 0 stars was Yutaka, which is one of my pre-ranked top 9s, and I hope he has a chance to surprise me, because I can't see how someone who seems to sing and dance well like him is choking on this show so much. So after this, Bak Do Ha, the blue silk shirt, he sung poorly and is also told that by 1 star. And, 1 star talks about the value of self-knowing, which is basically part of my thesis on sincerity and how to, become better at this stuff or know whether or not you're fit for it. 1 star basically told him to be an actor because his singing is potentially unsalvageable, and he even struggled, 1 star didn't even know what to do to help him. And, I don't think this is some form of reverse psychology that's going to help him, fight harder and get there. I think he legitimately believes that that gap is not breachable. But hold on while I check off my bingo card for Judge ends a trainee's rent. They used to see that Judge ends a trainee's career, but I feel like that was hard to fit into the square. Bak Do Ha said that he had no idea he was that bad, which itself is kind of a bad sign, but I bet Cube was also just kind of putting him out there for publicity. I don't know if they thought that he would be highlighted in such a negative way. I felt bad for him, because even though I'm sure the other boys may have cried before him, I'm pretty sure Lee Ho-Tech cried at some point, his was edited into the episode and during a time when he was failing, and we were subjected to seeing someone's dreams and hopes crushed in basically real time. Now hold on while I check off my bingo card for boy cries, and I don't mean to be insensitive here, I just gotta do it. And it's just absolutely awful for one trainee to be responsible for 2 squares in 1 day, negative squares, and then to also have been joked about for 2 episodes running. Taking a break from the 0 stars, we transitioned into the room of 16 all-stars to see how their training was progressing. As all-stars, they were all under a lot of pressure, and shortly after trying to sing in unison, the vocal master decided to hear them individually to see who was throwing off the vocals. One of my top 9, Kim Jun-hyun, the highest energy in Boys Planet, tried his best to sing and almost required an exorcism. Even though he struggled vocally, he still did some dance steps, and apparently screaming the other day after getting an all-star ranking was the cause for some of his strain. The vocal master then called on Haruto and Keita, and Haruto shamefully misdeclared that he was tone-deaf, when really what he meant was that he was a low vocal range. Keita, of course, killed the performance and showed the value of its experience. Kim Gyu-vin performed after Keita and got reamed for poor pronunciation and being slightly off-key. His star-level test buddy Han Yoo-jin followed and couldn't even finish or sing loud enough to be heard. Now, at that point, Yoo-jin had been scolded for both his singing and dancing, and if he doesn't shape up soon, while still getting support from voters based on early favoritism by the show, I might have to check off a certain bingo card square. I won't say which one, but he just might be that guy. When the dance master Mihawk actually showed up for this day of training, the concerns about Yoo-jin being overrated by the Star Master started to solidify into shape a bit. He basically called into question whether or not Yoo-jin was only highly rated because they happened to perform a certain song that they had been practicing for years, rather than that they were adaptable or experienced or passionate learners. Now, if you were an aspiring idol in K-pop, I would half expect you to spend a lot of time learning songs and choreo, to the point where it becomes as natural to you as living and breathing. Now, Zhang Hao admits as a fellow Yuhua trainee that their training diet may be lacking in some diversity, and they don't have any, outside training in any other companies, and that they probably had trouble learning new choreo as a result. In the 3-star room, things seemed to go more smoothly. Dance master Choi Young-jun was generally pleased, though he scolds Ji Woong for dancing too sexy.
No, please! No! Too sexy, please don't do it! Oh, please, no, my friend, too sexy! Por favor, too sexy!
With his butt out, which I would say was more of a personal attack, and it's basically the same thing as attacking him for his skin color at this point. Wang Zihao performed next, and I have him pre-ranked as a 3 out of 4, which means he's perfectly placed. He got praised for good dancing, and G Group generally got praised as well. So when K Group had to step up, they also brought it, and they perfectly satisfied the dance master. I feel like Group 3 was perfectly estimated by the judges, and every other rank was kind of a little bit more unstable, except for 0 group. But there wasn't a lot of change in terms of the 3 level stars. Things went so well that they started doing a G versus K showdown, and Gunwook versus Yihao was energetic. Matthew versus Hanbin was another footnote in this ongoing story of their epic friend/rivalry. Now watch out, Matthew, if I know my epic drama storylines, this ends with Hanbin stealing your new protege Takuto from right under your nose. Really though, they seem to get along very well, and MNET may be forcing them together in ways they won't even fully be aware of until the storyline begins to air. At this point, I wonder if they're going to play into the besties game, or if they'll reject it out of sheer annoyance that more was made out of things than it really was there, or if maybe the friendship actually is that strong. I don't know, we'll find out when the show switches into real time for the players. So the winner of this showdown was Matthew, and we know that Hanbin, he had a fire lit under him already, but we didn't see Matthew comment on his own ambitions yet. Maybe he's still coasting on a cheerful attitude, but at some point, I'm going to guess it becomes real for him too, and the question is whether he will fight or keep it light. In the 2-star room, Lido seemingly lost heart, either due to the difficulty he was facing under time constraints or just being intimidated by others around him compared to his own level of experience. So trainees like Haru and Wumuti were ultimately praised well in Group 2. Lee Sung-wan, worried about Daul after standing behind him during choreo, ended up pushing him towards the center where he could see himself in the mirror, and he also continued to encourage him, making sure he was kind of up in his spirits. And I'm sure people at home are taking notes, but Lee Sung-wan is someone I have pre-ranked at a 3 out of 4. So him being in a 2-star group, I'm thinking he should be rated better. But his willingness to help is a clearly admirable benefit, and this is, a group being created. Compassion for your fellow trainees is important. Just look at how much it benefited Kim Daeon, who helped choreo things for kind of the lesser trainees who were ranking low, and also Kim Chae-hyun, who helped the Japanese trainees with their language barrier issues. Back in the 0-star room, we saw all the trainees hopelessly following the guy with only 1 year of dancing experience as a lifesaver. And it's funny because Uju is actually the lowest pre-ranked trainee on my list in C class. And according to my notes, it just says that he wasted his time attack video and didn't do any dancing or singing or anything interesting. For me, it's kind of like the equivalent of a 0-star, but my C class trainees are basically an instant elimination. And, I guess it's a welcome surprise that he hid some talents, but it's probably not the best thing for his show career if the show doesn't throw him more bones like this one. Takuto struggled to overcome his timidity and asked Uju for help, so hold on a while I check this bingo card. Chai Samurai. Okay, so once he did overcome it, he did ask for a lot of help. And as a side note, I first learned a long time ago while making crib sheets for physics that one of the best ways to learn was to do it in a way where you have to teach it to others. And I would later confirm this several times in my life. So in that way, I feel like there is a benefit to helping other people learn things, whether it's because you're kind of like systematizing the knowledge or, restating things in a way that's easier to understand. And then you end up understanding it deeper as well. The next part was a montage about the boys calling home. They got really emotional, and most called their mothers, it seems. Maybe they didn't have a choice. But I noticed that some mothers didn't pick up. And Jung Min-ju's mom seemed to be drinking, and Kim Jun-hyun's call to a disconnected number was one of the funniest things I saw due to the sad editing as well. Jang Yeo-jun, who I have pre-ranked as a 2, but got 3 stars from Masters, talked about how he dropped out of school for his dream. Several other trainees also expressed something similar, with some giving up truly golden educational opportunities. But the truth is, 90 of these boys are going home. Finally, the day of the signal song test arrived, and apparently the boys believed that they would be video recorded, but were surprised when told that they would perform in front of the judges. And to add a level of pressure to this, the showrunners made it possible to watch parts of the test from the main rooms, so fellow trainees could feel like every cringe from seeing another trainee choke or misstep during their tests. And if that wasn't enough pressure, the groups would also have another star level tally, and the winner would get to do the highlighted part of Here I Am, which I think we already know is K group. Many stayed at the same rank, including Uju, the 1 year experienced 0-star teacher, and Mingyu, the red silk shirt guy. Bak Do Ha, blue silk shirt, choked during his test and broke down again after Hanbin offered him a hug, and honestly I was encouraged that he was still hopeful after that. The notable rank changes include Takuto, who moved from 0 to 1, Kong, who I pre-ranked as a 2, went from 1 to 3. Lee Sung-hwan, who I pre-ranked at a 3, went from 2 to 3, which was nice. And one of my tops also dropped from 1 to 0, Wen Ye Chen. At this point, I'm noticing a pattern that out of my top 9s, all the K group trainees, they maintained their 3 to 4 star ratings, while the G group trainees were all ranked at a 2 or lower, some were 0. The only exception was probably Jay, who was an all-star. And I don't know, is it a language barrier or a confidence issue? Unfortunately, Lee Da-il dropped from a 2 to a 0, which was sad, and that's like probably the biggest drop that I've seen in the show so far. Considering all the work he was willing to put in, his singing definitely was not good, but he also didn't give up. So in that respect, it was just a pure estimation of his talent, and no amount of work seemed to help him. He has to develop something else, which is a sense of perception, sense of kinesthetics. When it was Ji Woong's turn, the judges called him sexy again.
It's too sexy, my man! Please, no!
And basically he smiled like Edward Scissorhands. His hair even became a heart shape at the ending fairy, and after he left with no changing rank, the judges still continued to say he did his moves a little bit too erotically. So Gunwook went from a 3 to a hold for his all-star ranking, and that made him sad. And the thing is that it may never actually be realized, since he was basically followed by Sung Han-bin, who confidently went from a 3 to an all-star. And, I actually liked the Vocal Master's comments here about Sung Han-bin having reasonable confidence. That is confidence based in reality. Basically, he has a sincere estimation of his abilities, and then he works hard in a legitimate way, and he knows exactly what to fix and who to mimic or whatever in order to get his all-star ranking, and he got it with no issue. Of the next trainees, Matthew maintained his 3-star despite cracking under pressure, and, he knew it. I think he could have been an all-star, but he definitely did not handle the pressure well. And Lee Ho-tek also had a sad drop from all-star to 3. Now here, I'd like to check off a bingo card for early fave under pressure, but I think it's technically still considered early in the game, so I'm not going to do that yet. But after this, Zhang Hao and Jay kept their all-star rankings. Jay struggled a lot behind the scenes, and he became demoralized at some point. Keita, however, stepped in to help him, which is a double win in my opinion. It answered my earlier question about whether Keita's appearance would end up being a benefit to his teammates, and since it would make him a good member of the team. But it also sets up Jay for his redemption arc, which is over the only concern I ever really had of this guy, which is whether or not he would fit into a team dynamic and blend in well with others, whether intentionally or subconsciously. If this guy learns to not pull all the focus on himself, and he's able to support the team and whoever's in the killing role, I think that he would be an all-star for sure. Now the test ended on a cliffhanger with Han Yu-jin, the trainee who Mihawk said might be overestimated and misranked, and then MNET shows real-time rankings with Yu-jin moving 1 spot up to 2nd place, but Lee Da-il dropping massively. Now clearly there's more to see in the next episode, and I wonder if this is really the final ranking for the Signal song, or if people will continue to shuffle, because when we saw the Signal song on TV, I'm pretty sure we saw some other people. Maybe it was just their ending fairies, and so they weren't focused as much in the actual dance portion. But yeah, overall, I loved this episode. I loved it because I like to see realness. I like to see people react for real. Even though people crying is sad, and people I like to see people rallying. Yeah, definitely. I feel like there should be more tests for the Signal song, because doing this all in 1 week, it seems kind of rushed. But who knows? Maybe the intention is just to rush along the episodes and do the filler content until the show becomes real time. Real time meaning when we're watching the show, the trainees are basically training for the next episode only a week in advance rather than months in advance. And so I guess that's pretty much it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comment box down below. Do you guys have any predictions? I didn't really put any predictions out there because it's still early. And I'm probably, right before the show becomes real time, I'll put out new rankings, personal rankings, that is, not the real show rankings. And then, if you're not subscribed, basically, so subscribe so we can see each other in the next video.